trade agreements, and my curiosity is when it comes to enforcement of intellectual property rights, how do trade agreements provide, at least the ones that we've passed recently, do they provide the protections you need? Do they go far enough? Just in general, I'd be very curious about that. Mr. Hollyman?
Sure, I'll start. I think that the trade agreements have been a huge factor behind the growth of the software industry, both the multilateral ones by the WTO, including intellectual property provisions, but many of the free trade agreements have been quite specific in recent years in addressing the issue of software, ensuring that governments were using only legal software, and trying to take steps to drive private sector use. So they're important, and we think that IP components need to be a part of every trade agreement.
Mr. Carnes?
Well, certainly, when we harmonize treaties like WIPO and things like that, that helps, because you get, when you have some countries that have limited copyright protection and other countries like the United States now has Life Plus 70, it gets to be a problem. So it has positively impacted us, that we're harmonizing some of the laws.
Mr. Friedman?
Sorry, I will admit that I am not very well versed in the trade agreements. I can say that historically about 1/3 of our business has been overseas, primarily in Europe. The only restriction that we had was in our early days shipping some technology, or not shipping some technology, to the former Soviet Union, into Russia. So I'm sorry, but I can't be too much help on this question, I don't think.
Mr. Carnes?
Yes, thank you. I, in general, feel very positive about the trade agreements and the progress that has been made in that area. And, I think that as a government, you tend to think about it at a macro level. As an individual, I tend to think about it as a micro level. And at the micro level, what I see happening in some of these countries is that the protection of IP is entering into the narrative. And I think in many parts of the world, and I've had the opportunity to visit China about 25 times, and I think that part of what we need to do is continue to focus on these things at the macro level to make sure that it enters into individual narrative, because in some parts of the world, I think their view of your rights around intellectual property are just fundamentally different than the U.S. right. And so I think that the focus of our government on these issues and encourages discussion down at the working level. Thank you.
Mr. Mansfield?
I would once again agree with Mr. Carnes, who I've never met before today, but apparently we're very much in agreement. I think the more America is involved with other countries in these trade agreements, the better Americans are able to function in those structures, and the more respect is given to intellectual property rights. I would love to take this as a chance to, again, the IP attaché program, which currently exists, I think we have 8 of them in our embassies. If that was expanded, I think we would have better protection, especially better protection for small businesses, who could then call upon that person as a local expert in the structure that they're now dealing with.